Hello, everybody. I am going to do things differently, as I said in my short. I am going to let out an alter ego, or this is a being, a divine being that I have been in touch with my whole life, and I'm just gonna kind of let him out. Whether you want to believe he's real or this is a fictitious character that I'm making up is up to you. Um, but this is the knowledge that I'll be speaking through in this character's voice is knowledge that has come to me from the Most High. I'm not saying that it's 100% accurate. It is, for all intents, it's just a story. Really, it is. It's just another way of understanding human history through the eyes of this divine being. So, without further ado, I'm just gonna let it happen. Hello, everybody. My name is Lucifer. I'm sure you've all heard of me, or at least most of you. If not, what rock have you been under? Especially with that popular television show. I really like that, by the way. The comic book, kind of cool. Religious version of me, not as much. No. Now, to be fair, it's true I did have a fall from grace, but not as an archangel. There was no battle in heaven with me leading the way. It was nothing like that. First of all, let me state that I am the only archangel who comes and incarnates in the lower life forms. I've always had a fascination with this aspect of creation. I've always had a love and fondness for it. And there's a reason for that, but I'll go into that another time. It has to do with co-creation, a gift that Father gave me way back in the beginning of creation, that enabled me to see creation from a different perspective than my siblings. So, here on Earth, there were the hominids. They weren't the first intelligent species that came from this Earth, but they were the latest potential incarnation of humanity. But God created them differently. God created these hominids without a worship gene, without, that's a scientific way of putting it, but he created them without the inherent knowledge of his existence. You see, every time God ever created a species, and countless species has he created, beyond number, they always knew of his existence in one form or another. So faith wasn't as strong of an element as it is here with you all and your relationship with him. So the hominids, there they were for the longest time, hundreds of thousands of years, millions of years, I don't know how many years it was, but it was a long time, and they were not seeing the signs of the Most High. This was alarming to God. This experiment was not going well. Something had to be done. There needed to be an intervention. So there was another race of beings who were advanced who also existed in this solar system. They didn't exist here on Earth, but they had a rough knowledge of the Earth's existence. And they were advanced, they were an industrialized civilization, and they were making the mistakes that your current civilization is making. They polluted their environment. They basically wrecked their world, but they found a way to fix it, and it required that they travel across the solar system to this little rock and mine resources. So I'm not going to get into that story. If you want to know about that story, all you got to do is look up the Anunnaki. Okay? So one of the key incarnations, my incarnations, was in the form of Enlil. This is where I made my biggest blunder ever. And blunder is a lighthearted way of putting it. It's catastrophe. You see, it has to be noted that when I incarnate into a lower life form, I come into that life without knowledge of who I really am, without my abilities, without divine wisdom. I am just like every other being like me on that world. And that was no exception with the Anunnaki. So I was Enlil, and I thought of myself as Anunnaki. I was not aware of my existence as an archangel. And I was very egoic. I was very much in my pride. You could say that I was a bit of a snob. Even amongst the Anunnaki, I was a powerful being. I was very important. But I had a very low tolerance in that life form for things I considered to be beneath me. And humans, in that life form, I regret to say, I considered to be beneath me. Not to the point that I wanted to harm them, but you see, their noise, the industrial chatter, if you could call it that, was getting on my nerves. I couldn't sleep. And in a fit of rage, with the technology at my disposal, I created a catastrophe. I caused a flood. I brought down upon the Earth an asteroid that caused a massive tidal wave that killed hundreds of millions of people in one fell swoop. I regretted it instantly, but the damage was done. It haunted the rest of that life for me. And it created another tragedy, or from it stemmed another tragedy. I failed as a father after that because I was crushed by my own actions. I failed to be a father to my son, who ended up going on to become the one known as Marduk, who was the god of the Old Testament, who is Satan. I did, through progressive incarnations, eventually redeem myself. The most notable incarnation for this was when I came 2,000 years ago as Jesus. It was not my name, but that is what the church refers to me as. I did not come here to save humanity in the way the church portrays. I came here to be a guide. I came here as a seed to show other seeds how to grow, I guess you could say. I also came to pave the way for the next time I was going to come, the information age. See, back in those days, I was severely limited on what I could do. Severely limited. I could only really affect one small little corner of the world. And even then, with God's divine wisdom, I knew that everything that I had come and taught was not going to be remembered for long. And that is evident in the narrative that the church paints, because it is so inaccurate. But I digress. When I came in that life form, not only did I come to set an example, to show you how to love, I also came, and to pave the way, I also came to redeem myself. I was indeed crucified. Sacrificing myself like that was my final redemption for what I had done as Enlil. I had existed in other famous forms. After Enlil, I believe, I do not have all of my divine knowledge in this form, okay? But I believe that the next life form after that was Gilgamesh. I slaughtered many as Gilgamesh too, but as a warrior, as a man's man. It wasn't quite the same thing. It still wasn't good, and I did rack up a lot of karmic debt from that too. And then I incarnated as I was Merlin. I don't remember that life form. I can see me, but I don't remember what my story was. I know I became an ascended master in that lifetime. King Arthur was not real. I was also a deity many a times. I was Horus. I was Thor. I was Apollo. I was the equivalent of those beings in every ancient culture of those times. And the thing is that in every one of these things, it really upsets me that history forgets my personality in all of these. I've always had a colorful personality. I like to dress fancy, not because I like to be brash or because I like to be flashy and show off. I just happen to like colorful things. I am artistic. I am creative. In all of my forms, I'm always creative. I was the artist Leonardo da Vinci. But then I also had lives I led that did not make it on the radar at all. I was burned alive at the stake in the Salem witch trials. I had 2 lifetimes where I died basically because of fire. In a more modern lifetime, I was forced to jump from a skyscraper because of a fire. Needless to say, I had an intense fear of fire to get over. So, That being said, I also have to talk about the other aspect of my great failure, and that was my son. Because of that tragedy that I caused, because I was so stuck in my ego, so stuck in my depression, my sadness, my sorrow, I failed to be there for my son. I failed to be a good example to him. In fact, I dare say I probably was not even nice to him for how he turned out. I mean, he is, after all, Satan. He is the Prince of Darkness. And there is no one in creation that hates me more than he does. It is sad. But it is what it is. There's nothing I can do about it now. All I can do is just pray for him, I guess. Though it does no good. You see, the reason I don't like the word sin is because of how limited it is. When you look at things from the perspective of karma, things make a little bit more sense. When you are so deep in your shadow that you completely reject God, that is when you're lost. But it takes a lot to get there. You have to willfully choose to be that way. And despite the fact that very few make it to heaven, so to speak, very few actually go to hell. There is a large gray area. Humanity needs to realize that the shadow aspect of yourself is not evil. Evil comes from intention. Humanity is under the influence of trauma. The way to find the Most High is to go within, to heal your traumas, to seek Him out and start that relationship. I just want to throw that in there. I have done this so many times in so many incarnations. For now, I think that's all I really want to say. Yeah, that's all I want to say. So I love you all. Talk to you later. Bye.